This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad and live today. Image is everything. American tennis legend Andre Agassi fit this mantra so well when he was competing that a camera company jumped at the opportunity to pair the athlete with the mantra in their 1990 advertising campaign. With a spiked-up mullet being held in place by a headband, an earring dangling from his left earlobe, and tennis outfits often being composed of denim shorts over hot pink spandex, Agassi fit the mold of being a rebel amongst the bleached white outfits of the typical tennis competitors. There was a constant buzz of excitement, whether he was stepping out on the court or stepping out on the night of the town in his Jeep. He embodied the image that the camera company wanted to portray in their campaign. Image is everything. In a way, we find ourselves saying the same thing. We want to be cool, or at the very least, accepted and loved. We never want to be seen as weak, but rather strong. We never want to be aloof with our head in the clouds, but rather intelligent and on the ball. We want to put our best foot forward, making the greatest impression that we can. And when we're wronged, well, we certainly want to stand up for ourselves. As my daughter might say, we got to flex on those haters, which translated from teenage speak means that we are letting others know that we aren't some kind of pushover. As the rock band Twisted Sister would say, we're not going to take it anymore. Joseph had the perfect opportunity to flex on his haters, and in this case, his haters were his older brothers. But he chose not to. Now, this whole beef started when the boys were younger and Joseph's brothers were jealous of the image that Joseph portrayed as he paraded around in his luxurious coat with sleeves that his father gave to him, and only to him. His brothers thought, who does this little pipsqueak think he is? Why does he get such a fancy coat? They couldn't take it anymore, and they threw him in a well, only to fish him out and sell him into slavery to a caravan passing by. Fast forward in time, and Joseph is now 30 years old, finding himself in the good graces of Pharaoh after having interpreted his dreams from prison. Pharaoh, in fact, makes Joseph ruler over Egypt, and while there's famine all over the land, Egypt's doing quite fine because they've stocked up grain in their storage sheds. So Joseph's brothers travel from their land of Canaan down to Egypt looking for food. Well, turns out that Joseph recognizes his brothers, but they don't recognize him. This is the perfect opportunity for Joseph to get his revenge. What goes around comes around. Show them that you're not weak. Time to flex on these haters, Joseph. But he doesn't. In fact, he forgets about all that stuff that took place in the past. Just forgets about it, lets it go. These are his brothers. This is his family. He intends to show compassion and to love them and to provide for them. What could have turned out to be a messy situation ends up being a reunion as the brothers and Joseph reconcile with one another and look forward to the dawn of a new day. Now, loving your family members, loving your friends, loving your neighbors, that's something that can be expected. I mean, even when things get sour, many times the pathways lead back to mended fences and resolved issues, much like the story of Joseph turned out. And this is exactly how God would have us behave. God does not want us to fall back on our own egos and self-image for the fear of looking weak and helpless in the eyes of our adversaries. Quite the contrary. God sends Jesus to us in order to turn things around in terms of the way humanity views these issues and how we view each other. He wants us to try a new way of doing things and to see how things will pan out if we follow in his way. In our gospel reading for today, Jesus continues to preach to a crowd of people gathered together in a big, flat, open expanse of a field. And boy, oh boy, does he have some words of wisdom for them to chew on. He says, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, and pray for those who abuse you. Now, I could see people responding to this by saying, wait. Hold up a minute, Jesus. Whatever happened to an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth? Now that sounds better to me. I mean, if I'm going to suffer, then someone else is going to suffer as well. That only seems fair. To which Jesus would say, nope, we're not going to roll this way. This is a new way. This is a new style. If you follow me, you will treat your enemies the same way you might treat your own family, with respect and love and compassion. My guess is that a few people probably stood up after hearing this and said, no, thank you, I'm out. Never returning to Jesus again. Jesus probably lost a few more followers when he continued his sermon and said, if anyone strikes you on the cheek, offer the other also. And if someone takes your coat, don't hesitate to give your shirt. The fact of the matter is that we have a hard time looking weak and helpless and vulnerable. Aiding an enemy, forgiving someone who has wronged you, showing compassion when the recipe calls for revenge. These all seem to be moves that can be lumped into this weak and helpless and vulnerable category. But as we see from the story of Joseph, this is not the case. True reconciliation takes place. Transformation occurs. Past grievances are buried and forgotten. Lives are changed for the better. What might have looked like a weak move by Joseph in the beginning turned out to be the strongest move that he could have made and the most beneficial for all the parties involved. Weak, helpless, vulnerable. Now, while we try to avoid it at all costs, we cannot escape witnessing it at the crucifixion. I mean, what could be any weaker than hanging helplessly on a cross? That is pathetic. What kind of king would choose to not put up a fight, to not defend himself, and to allow himself to be thrust into such a precarious position? It's ridiculous. Jesus, if you are the Son of God, save yourself and us. Funny thing is, that's exactly what he does on that cross. Jesus, in his greatest moment of weakness and helplessness and vulnerability, flips the script on this story and says, no, it is not going to go down this way. Death will not have the final say. We're not going to take it anymore. The devil loses once and for all. Jesus, in his resurrection, demonstrates the power of God's love for his people. His dedication to us is radical in that we don't have to do a single thing in order to enjoy and to share in this victory. Not a thing. Just believe. Doesn't matter who you are or what you've done or how you've disobeyed God. He doesn't care. He doesn't need to know the details. God's radical love is for everyone who wishes to receive it. And it is this same radical love that comes to us with zero conditions that Jesus wants us to go out and to share with others. Love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who abuse you. Just imagine if we all subscribe to this way of thinking, how different our world would truly be. Imagine if we were all moved by the Spirit to share ourselves with others in totally surprising and unexpected ways. What an image that would be. And it certainly would be everything. Amen. Remember as you go about your day that yesterday is gone, tomorrow does not yet belong to you. So why not live today, knowing that you never walk alone? See y'all next week. Later.